Student Source Brook Blac in the building. Oh my goodness. I have a special treat for y'all. I've got a gentleman on the line. Let me pull him up here so that he can hear what I'm saying. It helps when your phone doesn't lock you out, right? When you're trying to do something. There we go. So, thanks for tuning in. I'm here with Earthquake from Circle of Bosses. What's up, Earthquake? Can you hear me?
What's going on, bro? Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Have you ever been on a radio show before?
A couple times,
Oh,
local radio.
okay. So we can't have any cursing or the content is borderline. I'll let you know if we need to switch lanes or not. So
Oh,
last
okay, I got
week,
it. Okay.
yeah, last week we tried to get you on the line and I had the blue screen of death happening and I wasn't sure if we were broadcasting or not. Looks like we actually were, so we could have went ahead and went forward, but I'm glad I have you here today. So thank you for taking time out of your day for this interview and being a part of Morning Cup of Culture. I found you on Instagram through various social media, through Circle of Bosses, Horseshoe Gang, uh, King Crooked, that platform right there. And when I found you, I started to listen to your music, and I wanted to bring you into the circle of what I call Morning Cup of Culture, and I wanted to have a conversation with you about Circle of Bosses and really understand where it stems from and how you became an artist with Circle of Bosses and what it means to you to create music in the industry right now.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm glad you reached out to have me on the show. Yeah.
So tell me about Circle of Bosses. When did you start representing that as your brand or your culture or your group or what would you call it?
I had a movement collective, Basically, I started like 2 years ago officially, like 2015. But I've known Horseshoe Gang since about 2013. That's when I was like met all of them, and then it kind of like built from there.
Now, when you first started rapping, were you rapping with Horseshoe Gang or were you on your own or is this something that cultivated over time?
Oh, I didn't start out with them, but I started, my first mixtape came out in 2010. I was strictly just independent, just myself. Nobody really supported me at that time. It was just me kind of building from the ground up. And then,
So, as an independent artist, as an indie artist, where did you get the drive and the support to get to where you are today?
uh, basically, what motivated me was everybody telling me I couldn't do it. Like when I was in high school, I told everybody I wanted to rap, and they pretty much laughed in my face. So, yeah, I set out to prove everybody wrong. And then, yeah.
So, now you did a track with Horseshoe Gang. How did that come about? How did you get into that circle?
Uh, well, I did a song, actually in 2012 or 2011, I had a song called Untouchable with Crooked. I didn't know them then, but I reached out because Crooked was one of my favorite artists, and I just wanted to have a song with him. And also on that song was Kenny from Horseshoe Gang. He was the only one at the time that I knew, and it kind of just like I stayed in touch with them, and it kind of just built from there. Then I met everybody at South by Southwest in 2013, and then it's kind of organically happened over time.
It's always nice when you can cultivate relationships on an organic platform, especially such a huge music festival like South by Southwest. I didn't know you performed at South by Southwest. When did you
I
perform?
have one.
When did you
What was it?
perform out there?
I performed in 2015 on a showcase with Jack Thriller. He was there. DJ Payne One was there. It was pretty cool. And but at the time I met them, I didn't perform, but they were out there performing. So that's when I got to go up there and meet them in person.
So how do you get on a ticket like that? Is that like a pay to play or was that like a networking? How did you get that gig?
That one was a pay to play, but that was one of those things I learned that's not really wise to do. But that was still when I was getting into the things. I hadn't performed that much at that point, but I was still trying to learn the ins and outs of it.
Right. So when you say it wasn't a wise move, do you not feel like pay to play is where artists need to be as indie to get respect in the industry and to build a platform?
Yeah, I mean, I think looking back on it, it's not really the best way to go about starting out because on those type of situations, you're mainly performing for other artists, so they're not really there to enjoy your music. They're just there waiting for their shot to go on stage, and they're not really into it like a casual fan might be. who's not an artist. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. No, I do. I'm trying to build the conversation here because here in Utah, and I'm sure it's in various cities across the globe, but here in Utah, pay to play is like it is what it is. Like you pay to play. I mean, you can get gigs if you're and correct me if I'm wrong if it's different in your city, but there are ways to get gigs and get paid to play, but there are pay to play.
oh
and
yeah,
and that's for me what I've learned is it's a way to get your name out there. It's an investment in your brand and your identity and what your social status is in the community. But do you feel like it takes away from the artist itself? Like the money could go elsewhere?
yeah. I think because some of these prices they charge are a little steep, and it's kind of like you could have put that towards a music video or some kind of marketing or something like that, as opposed to just going up there performing like one song and then leaving.
Right.
That's what happened to me. What happened to me? I paid the little price to do it, and I got to do one song, and then that was it. I was just like, oh, okay.
So not to get too personal, but do you work with promoters to do the pay to play, or is this something that you just approach the venue, or how what I'm just curious how this happened because I know a couple promoters that do South by Southwest and
Oh, it wasn't a promoter. It was a coast to coast mixtapes. It was their platform. They do like they showcases everywhere, like all over the country. And
right.
they were at South by Southwest that time in 2015. I got in there. And I mean, it wasn't bad. It just looking back on it, didn't really do much for me. As far as long term.
So Coast to Coast mixtape, I actually was approached by them. Do you feel like it's just how do I say this without offending anyone? I'll just say it. Do you feel like it's just a way for them to make money off people? Like they give them a
Yeah,
shot and you pay for that shot?
yeah, I know where you were going with that. And actually, I heard that from other people before. Like I read online about a bunch of reviews and comments, and everybody said they ripped them off or whatever. So I don't know.
So for you personally, what do you think has been your most successful moves so far in your career?
Honestly, man, linking up with Orchard Gang because their fans are pretty much my fans now, and it's just like it's a gradual process.
So
I think they worked out the best.
when you say their fans are your fans, don't you mean that as a Circle of Boss member, as an artist under Circle of Bosses, that it's a collective culture that's being created in the industry?
Oh yeah, it's definitely like his own movement. We got his own. I'm trying to get his own egg off the ground right now, but it's definitely like a power play that people got to look out for.
Right. And there's a lot of new music out right now. I know Crook just dropped his Good versus Evil 2. I know that Dope Lyrics just dropped. Your album just dropped. Let's talk
Yeah.
about your album real quick. How many tracks are on the album?
There's 14 songs on my album.
And what kind of dialogue can one expect if they want to hear this album? Because when we talk about albums, this is a generation of my generation. It's not this I don't even know what they call this generation X. I don't even know, but they're used to the single. So how can you sell this idea of an album to someone who's used to like Pandora or Spotify, where it's something different each time the cue comes up?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of old school too. Like I feel like I was born in the wrong generation, but honestly, but I mean, basically, it's a rappers album. I like to say
A
because
rappers album. Break that down for me.
because mainly the way I see it is the only thing I'm really decent at doing is rapping. It's kind of sad to say, but it's the way it turns out. And I just feel like you're gonna hear the passion in what I'm doing because I'm really trying to make this work. So you're gonna hear that effort being put into it.
Okay. And how long did it take you to press the album? Or is it pressed or is it just digital?
It's just digital right now, but I still might press up some hard copies.
Sorry, that's the old school in me talking about pressing albums.
Because people were asking for them anyway, so I might actually do that. So.
Well, that's me. I need a hard copy, so anytime that there's only digital, unfortunately, I don't do digital because for some reason the blue screen of death likes to follow me and I'm not technically inclined to provide tech support for my own help. So I know that if I put a CD in, it's going to work. But if I
Yeah,
download
download
something,
the digital
it's
stuff, it might. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So
Like
let's
some with the viruses or something, you know.
right. Let's chat about that for a minute. So if we wanted to get the album, where would we go?
It's on Spotify, it's on Amazon, iTunes, pretty much everywhere.
And what's it
Digital.
called?
Southern Soldier.
How'd you come up with the name?
Well, there's a kind of a double meaning to it. And basically, I was born and raised in Texas, so I'm a Southern boy to the heart. And I know how the South is perceived in hip hop as, as a whole. Like, it's looked at as we're not as dope, put it that way, not as lyrically inclined. And I like to think I'm cut from a whole different cloth than that. So I'm trying to stand on the front lines and be like, look, this is what I do. You know.
Now, do you work with other artists in Texas?
Yeah, I have a couple songs that aren't out yet, but I mean, I've done a feature for the guy at Fort Worth who was still waiting to hear the song. But yeah, I work with anybody really. It just depends.
So how do we find you if we want to find you?
On social media, earthquake underscore C.O.B on Twitter and Instagram. And Facebook, I don't use my Facebook artist page that much, but it's earthquake official on Facebook.
See, it's weird for me because Instagram is not as popular for me for some reason. I don't know if I'm using it wrong. And Twitter, I feel bad. I have neglected Twitter. I had some weird stuff happening back on Twitter a while back, and it just kind of I don't know. We
Sour
won't
Joint.
get into that, but
Sour
Facebook is
Joint.
blown up. What's up?
That kind of sour Joint on Twitter. Something happened and kind of just like ruined it for you.
No, it's not that it ruined it for me. It's just I had some weird encounters with various people and some
Oh,
weird calamities happening in the universe. And I'm a real sensitive person. And so people's vibes, like I pick up on people's vibes and I can read people really well. And sometimes I just know things and I don't know how I know things. It's kind of creepy. Like, some people are like, "What are you, a gypsy?" It's like, I don't know, maybe in my last life, but in this life, I'm just Brooke. You know what I mean? But yeah, no, just some weird stuff happened on Twitter, and so I just stopped. I stopped really getting
yeah,
on Twitter because I don't
I
know.
totally get that. Because people are crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
I totally
So,
understand that.
so with your music, what's the message that you bring to the table as far as where you stand, where you draw a line in the sand? Like who do you represent in the community? Are you for the underdog? Are you for the villain? Like what?
Yeah, actually, you said it. Hit the nail on the head. I like to think I represent the underdog, just in general. Like anybody who had all the odds against them and overcame the odds. That's pretty much where I'm at.
So how does it feel to be the face of the underdog and to talk about the stuff that we talk about in our music?
I think it's good because I know there are people like me that don't ever get the chance. I'm nobody yet. Trust me, don't get it twisted. I'm nobody right now, but I'm on an upward trajectory right now. So I feel like if I can get out there and it be heard, because it's all authentic. It's not something I'm trying to put on the front for or trying to make up. It's just really who I am. So what you see is what you get, and I just feel like I can be a voice for a lot of people and really make the mark.
So with that in mind, what were obstacles for you? Because I know that upcoming artists who might feel like they're nobody, as you quoted, I'm quoting you now, I'm nobody right now, but I will be. Um, what are the obstacles that you've come across in becoming who you are and getting to the level that you're at? And what might be some tips that you have for anyone that might be facing those same obstacles?
Well, I feel like, I mean, for me personally, I feel like there's not really a lot of options down here where I'm at for upcoming artists. Because you have to know people, you have to already be in certain circles, and I'm not really in any cliques or groups around here. But the fact that Crooked and Horseshoe Gang, they associate with me and they respect me, that says a lot. So it's like, I know there's something to it. I'm doing something right. It's just a matter of getting to the right people.
So, in getting to those right people, there are untouchables and people that are maybe hard to get at. So, do you feel like maybe that coast to coast kind of got you in a way? So, maybe it was more of a good thing, the way the universe kind of aligns us?
Well, it could have been, but honestly, Twitter helped me out with connecting with Circle of Bosses,
Oh,
C.O.B.
okay. Okay, how did that
Um,
happen?
yeah, Twitter, that's why I like Twitter so much. It actually helped me out a lot because at the time, That's how I talked to Crooked. That's how I kind of communicated with him. I didn't know him back then, but then after that, we kind of got acquainted.
Right.
So
And
yeah,
he was here last year. I had him, Dolly Girl, and M80 up in the studio, and he's a very quiet person, and it came across to me as natural, like because he's such a
yeah, he's
beast.
very approachable. He's very just laid back and just chill.
Right. And he's just, I don't know, not to talk about him per se, but just the idea of giving someone who feels like they don't have anyone an idea or a way in, if they're looking for a support system, if you will, or advice or someone to turn to. Are you someone who's open to that? Like if you had someone come to you with, how do I do this earthquake? What should I do here? Are you open to that, or is that just something that's like, you know, buck up, pull your bootstraps
I
up?
mean, I'd be open to it. I just don't know how much help I could actually offer. I'm not. I mean, I'm still learning as I go. So
Well, I mean, for me personally, seeing where you've come, I don't know. You mentioned that you're a nobody, but you're on an international radio station right now. You're talking to people in Dubai and New Zealand and the
yeah,
UK
that's great.
and a platform that's global right now. So don't sell
Yeah, that's
yourself
great.
short, and not to toot my own horn, but it's definitely a time to shine in this life and to talk about who we are and not who we're not. Um, I feel like I feel like society and the industry kind of puts a sticker on the good kids, if you will, in hip hop, and they're not necessarily the good kids. They're just the selling albums, if you will. And
Just kind of put the image out there, and that's what it is.
exactly. So with you and where you're going, what's next for you as far as you got any videos coming out? The album's just now out. You're talking about maybe pressing some singles. What's next for your platform? Are you taking the album on tour? What's next for you?
I would love to go on tour. I definitely need to do some more shows because I feel like that's a good way to really meet people and meet the supporters face to face. And I really want to do that a lot. Like go on more shows and possibly go on tour.
Have you ever been on tour before?
No, I've never been on an actual tour, but I've performed here and there over the years.
What are you open to as far as like um, people you want to work with or promoters?
Really, I'm down with anybody. There's this guy down here. I don't know if you might have heard of him. His name is Smooth Vega. He's based out of Dallas. He kind of puts on a lot of shows and brings bigger acts down through Texas. Like he just had John Rule down here last week. John Rule on Ashanti. It was like that was kind of cool. And he brings out a lot of people like Cameron, and he knows a lot of people. So I feel like he'd be a good connection to have as far as that goes.
So are you reaching outside of Texas? Are you working with other artists as far as like, I don't know, the way that the industry is now? I mean, I could record something and send it over to Jamaica and make a track with someone in Jamaica without even meeting that person. Are you open to that
Yeah.
kind of stuff?
Oh yeah, I do that all the time. Man, I have a couple like there's like four I can think of four collabs I did recently that are still waiting to hear the final product of, and they're from all over the place. So I'm definitely open for that.
So if you had like a pipe dream, who would you be on stage with and what would you guys be doing?
Man, if I could just have anybody,
Yeah.
I know it's probably like the expected go-to answer, but Eminem.
Did
Cause
you
you know
hear his
how it
new
is, white
track?
boy like Eminem. No, you know.
Did you hear that new track that he just dropped last night?
Yeah, I heard that. I should like it.
I was blown away. I'm just like, and he's the cannon, if you will, for the gunfire that's happening in our nation, and I feel so admired to him because of what he's just not afraid, and he
Yeah,
does
that's whatever
not
you want.
care. Like
Yeah,
he raps like if he died while rapping, he would be just fine with that because he's gonna
like,
tell you what it is and how it is.
exactly. He went on BT and like tore Trump a new one, and it's like okay, on national television.
Right. And
You
I
know, he
just
doesn't care.
do you feel like do you feel and you don't have to answer this if you're not okay with it, but do you feel like white privilege plays into that identity factor that he has and the way that he's able to move throughout the industry and just say what's on his mind and hasn't really been stopped?
I mean, I do think there is something to that. I mean, it's not. I mean, it's easy to just write it off and say it's not that, but I mean, it pretty much it's a factor. It might not be the entire thing, but it's definitely a factor.
Because when I think of people like DMX and I think of, Tupac and these really intricate artists that had a huge
Really,
impact on the game early on, and how, I mean, take DMX for instance, like, to go from where he was and to just have those pillars knocked out from underneath him to where he is now and the charges that he's facing, and then to look at Tupac and the movement that he was creating with Thug Life and how it impacted, you know, urban culture. Do you feel like we're missing that right now? That's what we're lacking in hip hop?
yeah, I feel like that, and I feel like Crookie could bring that if he had like a bigger push. If he had more eyes on him, he could be that person.
Well, what about
Like
you?
Crookie's
Like,
that wave.
I
I
don't know.
couldn't. I mean,
I
I don't
mean,
know.
Circle of Bosses, if I was to imagine a music festival with just Circle of Bosses artists, with just C.O.B artists,
Yeah,
that to me is like hands down the most political, the most entertaining, and the funniest group of people that you could have for entertainment on one stage at one time.
and would definitely be like bars on top of bars.
Cell block, we'll just put it that way.
Yeah, exactly. Like I performed with them on tour with Rich. I went to the show in Austin. I performed with them there. They let me on stage. That was cool. But
Oh, you got to meet Ritz?
yeah, I met Rich and I got to perform. Like Crooked brought me up on stage during his set. I was up there on stage with Horseshoe Gang and we were like performing. Like
That's what's up. I haven't met
they gave
Ritz
me the
yet.
microphone.
I
Yeah,
ha-
met Rich.
I haven't no, I haven't met him yet. He's on my list, but I've been to so many of his shows, and by the end
Oh,
of the
yeah.
night, I don't do crowds very well.
I don't
I'm
either.
meant to be on the stage, not in the crowd. And so by the
Yeah.
end of the night, I'm just like, peace, I got to get the heck out of here. But what I've heard, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you have these imitators, if you will, that they portray this life on social media, and they smoke and they drink and whatever. And then in real life, they don't do that. But from what I hear, Ritz is like the party animal of, Clintel, and it's just like,
Yeah. I mean, I can see that. I mean, yeah.
do you feel like that is something that is plaguing hip hop, that there's too many imitators and not enough innovators?
Oh yeah, there's definitely too many imitators. That's like, yeah. I could talk all day about just that. I mean, let's just, I mean, there's a lot of things I feel like it needs to be filtered out a little better. You know what I'm saying?
Like what things?
Like, I'm trying to find the right words. I don't want to like misspeak. For one, there's too much drug use going on. Like, all that needs to stop.
Right.
Like it's promote because hip hop. Like, okay, I'm gonna sound like a real old head right here, but here we go. Like hip hop is geared toward the youth, the younger generation. They listen to it more. They lock into it more. So they hear all these mumble rappers talking about doing this, doing that. So they're gonna go do that. So they want to be like the appropriate person to do. You know, they want to be like the people they hear. So it's like hip hop is very influential. People don't realize it. The power in words.
Right.
So it's like whatever you say is gonna impact somebody. You don't know who it is, but it's gonna impact somebody.
So for you personally, with the way the industry is, where do you see yourself in 5 years from now?
5 years from now, well, maybe living in California because that was cool. And basically, I'm not even in it for like fame or like notoriety. Maybe notoriety, but I don't need to be. I don't need to be like famous and all over every TV show. I don't need to do all that. I just want to be able to do what I love and be comfortable and be able to freely express myself.
Is this a career for you, or is this a hobby?
Well, I'm working on making it a career, but right now it's not really. It's not the main Ain't right now, but I'm working on making it that way. So,
And what advice or what steps are you taking to make it a career versus a hobby?
well, you know what they say, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And that's what I'm trying to work with, trying to meet people and the right people and, like, you know, put myself in the right circles. Pun intended. Yeah.
Cobb all day. I know that
Exactly.
I have a hard time as a female artist, and I call myself that lightly because I don't share my music. I'm very shy and reserved when it comes to my rap, and
Yeah, I was about to say, I didn't know you did music. I was like, let me see.
yeah, nobody. I don't share that information. I started local and live years ago, and it turned into morning cup of culture, and it was a way to build a platform for conversations like this to happen, and artists who are the underdogs and who are the indie artists to have a platform to say what they want to say and have a conversation and create music that is not the top 40 or the mumble rap, if
Right.
you will. And it kind of pushed Brook Blac to the back. And
Oh, yeah.
this conversation started happening about other people. And so as an artist, I miss females. Like, I go and I search for females, and there is a lot of raw talent out there. But when it comes to getting an interview with them or having a conversation with them, it's kind of whack. I mean, I've come across several intelligent, empowered women in the industry that are doing various things. But when it comes to hip hop artists, I'm having a hard time. So if you could send some of your love out to the world and tell me, do you have any favorite female artists out there right now?
Female artists, like rappers or singers, or anything.
I prefer rappers because I'm tired of the Nicki Minaj's and the Remy Ma's and the Little Kims. And I'm sorry, but if you're
Well,
pushing 50 and you're still rapping on stage, good for you. Absolutely. Go kill it. But at the same time, it's like those women, MC Light, you know, Salt and Pepper,
yeah,
like TLC, those first innovators that created the industry, there aren't anymore. I'm sorry, but I'm not a big fan of Cardi B. She's got amazing
yeah.
talent, but I'm not a big fan. Little Kim has got
Cardi B,
amazing talent, but I'm not a big fan. You know, Iggy Azalea
yeah, I'm
came out
not.
and I could just laugh right now with that. You know what I mean? Like I
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
do well, they're ghostwriters. You know what I mean? Their raps are written for them, and I'm just like, what the
yeah.
hell are you doing? Like that's not the culture. If a dude
That's
was
one
to
thing I
stand
never
up
could get
there,
behind. Like, I never could get behind like people having ghostwriters. I mean, I understand it's a business and people actually do get paid to do it, but it's just like I can't take you serious if you have people knowingly writing all your stuff.
well, that's the culture. That's the rap. I mean,
Yeah,
the MC that can flow off the top, that is hip hop. You know what I mean? And you
yeah,
throw a beat behind it, that's real hip hop. Like, you know, the beat break for the break dancers, that's taking it way back to old school. But what I'm trying to say is if a dude was to have let's use Eminem for instance because this is a total hypothetical situation. If someone was to be writing Eminem's raps, would Eminem be Eminem?
I would be so disappointed.
He wouldn't be
I would be,
Eminem.
yeah, it wouldn't be, we wouldn't look at it the same. It wouldn't be the same at all. It's like, who is the guy? Or, you know, yeah,
But you take Iggy Azalea, and not to put them in the same sentence purposefully, but you take
yeah,
Iggy Azalea and you take a talented artist like T.I., and you put those two in the same conversation, and it's like, how the hell did she get
yeah,
to
I
where
agree.
she was having people writing her raps for her? Like, I don't get it.
Because she was a female. I mean, that's honestly what it is. Like, they go off the looks when it's females. They got the kind of upper hand in a way. I don't want to, like, put my foot in my mouth on that one. But I feel like female artists have that upper hand a lot of the time because that's how they're marketed. Like, they look at it as you need to dress like this. You know, you need to put yourself out there like this.
Right. It's true. You know, we're supposed to be seen, not heard. We're supposed to be the gatherers, the nurturers, whatever. But that's early America. You know what I mean? Like this is 2017. Pull your panties up, girls. You know, like
Yeah, exactly.
keep your legs
I'm,
closed. You know,
I agree
I
with
don't
you.
know.
I like female rappers that don't just showcase their body. They actually have, like, something to say to.
Right.
Like, Snow the Product, she's dope.
She's amazing. I would love. I approached her, but she's been on tour, and so I haven't been able to sync up with her. But her
I met her
vibe,
once.
what's that?
Yeah, I met her once. That was cool.
Yeah, she's been out here a lot. She likes Utah. She's got a good fan base out here. If you could pick any female artist to work with, who would you work with? Would it be Snow or would it be someone else?
It would be Snow, or there's this other MC, female MC thing. I don't know if her name is 3D Natty or just Natty.
Ah, yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
There you go. She's killing it, man. Her daily inspirational, yeah. She's
I actually hit her up like a couple weeks ago about doing a song, so we'll see how that goes. So yeah, put
so
that out there. Yeah.
so we're running out of time here. I appreciate you being on the show. I want to talk just a little bit more about how to find your music. So if you could guide the listeners where to find your album, what the album art looks like. I'm gonna post some of it when we're off here, just because I can't type and talk at the same time. It's a skill I do not have. Um, so if you could just tell the listeners where to find your music, Earthquake,
oh,
and I'm gonna play a
yeah.
track, and we'll be out of here after that.
Oh yeah, you can get my album Southern Soldier on iTunes, Amazon, Google Play, Spotify, all that. Anywhere you can get digital music, it's there. So check me out. Upcoming MC from Texas,
And
Authentic, No
and
Fakery. Yeah.
Cabazon, is that live now? Can they go to the store and get the C.O.B merch?
Oh yeah, see, Cabazon, like Amazon, but it's like Cabazon.com. That's the website. To get all the C.O.B merch right now. Brand new site.
So you want to introduce your track Worst Nightmare, talk about it for a sec, and then we'll play the jam and we'll be out.
Oh yeah, Worst Nightmare. I love that song because I released it on like Halloween initially, so it's like a Nightmare on Elm Street type vibe, and that's kind of what I wanted to do. And shout out to my brother's Horseshoe Gang for just on the song with me, and also I just want to say real quick, shout out to them and King Crooked for showing me love when they didn't have to. I'm forever grateful for that, and hope I make them proud. And here we go. This is my new single, Worst Nightmare, Earthquake, Horseshoe Gang.